time to talk about caffeine.
Caffeine.
Possibly the most popular, I would say, out of all of these options because, protein powder, creatine, I would say are most common in athletes. But when it comes to caffeine, you kind of see it everywhere.
Right.
Now, caffeine acts as a stimulant to improve alertness, reduce perceived fatigue, and enhance both strength and endurance performance. Positive is there is evidence for performance benefits. Negative, using it every day will reduce sensitivity, and taking it too late can affect your sleep and recovery.
The negative, when you talked about the doing it all the time and your sensitivity affects it, I mean, that really is true. I think that I've gone through phases where with coffee, I'm pretty fortunate where I've always just made it my mission where I am going to only have 1 cup of coffee. I just want that little bit of pick me up in the morning, and then I can hold on to it. Where, a lot of us out there will, they had a rough night, didn't get sleep, now you have 2 cups of coffee. And now the next day you may have 2 cups. And the third day comes around, like, you have your 1 cup, and you're like, oh man, am I ever dragging? I need that extra cup of coffee. Next thing you know, you're up to a pot of coffee a day. Mm-hmm. So it definitely does minimize the effects. If you keep bumping it up, you next thing you know, you're too far into it, so to speak. Where I've actually quit coffee for a while. I'll take a month, 2 months, 3 months. The first few days are not fun, but then once you get back into it, it works pretty well. So I think that the biggest thing with caffeine is I think that you want to make sure you don't overuse it.
I believe the absolute max that you should go when it comes to caffeine is like 400 milligrams a day. Typically, I stick to either no caffeine. Sometimes I'll have maybe a coffee at like the dining center at NDSU because they have just a coffee place that's free for everybody if you have the dining pass. And then every once in a while I'll mix in an Alani or Celsius. But when it comes to caffeine, how come you sell it here at the gym? Is there a main reasoning to selling at the gym outside of just like pure popularity? Or
those that are taking it typically are like, hey, I had a long day at the office. I just need a little pick me up to get through that workout. And those are the ones that we want to kind of utilize it for. I do see, especially some of the kids, they kind of tend to maybe every day, it's almost used as a crutch. Oh, I need to have that Alani to help me get through this workout. I'm like, well, you probably don't. It's a mental thing now. It really is just hey, and if you had a long day, you need a little extra pickup, let's give it a whirl. I typically do not like to have an energy drink later in the day. Like right now, I'm having one just because it's Friday. I want a little treat.
Yep.
But I can already feel myself shaking a little bit because I did have a cup of coffee this morning.
Yep.
Like kind of backing up a little bit, talking about coffee. I recall back in the day, I would use coffee as my pre-workout. Mm-hmm. I would take, and I was strength coaching at NDSU. I would usually train right around 11 a.m. We'd have a bunch of our kids done, and I'd go downstairs to the lounge area, grab a cup of coffee at 10:30, and drink it, so that by 11 I'm like fired up and ready to go. And so it's kind of interesting. If you've never tried a cup of coffee before a training session, it does work.
Is there any specific benefits to having caffeine before workouts, like when it comes to strength or just performance in general? Because of course pre-workout is very common. You use coffee as a pre-workout. Is there specific benefits from just taking caffeine in general before lifting?
Well, it's just you're mentally going to be more focused, ready to go. Mm-hmm. You're going to be able to increase your intensity with a little extra caffeine. I think back, I lived in Minneapolis for a while with a good friend of mine, helping him with his gym, Higher Power Training, and Jason Ivesdahl. And we would always train about 2 p.m. Mm-hmm. And at that time, we were still lifting real heavy. I was in my early to mid 30s, and we used to take an energy drink and mix it with branched chain amino acids. And that would give you one heck of a buzz per se and help you really grind through that workout. Until one time we mixed in, I think it was called a Red Line. I don't even know if you can buy it anymore. Mm-hmm. Took it at like 2 p.m. and I laid down at 10 o'clock to go to bed, and I was wide awake, and I was pissed. I'm like, okay, I am not going to have that one anymore.
Let's see. Red Line.
I honestly don't know if you can buy it anymore. It was insane. I don't know what it had in it, but I had never had one since.
I know you mentioned caffeine as like people using it as a crutch.
Yeah.
What I recommend when it comes to taking caffeine before school or at school is what I did was some days maybe I'd have a Celsius. Other days I would have those Zoas, that's less energy. Other days I would have Bubbler. So I feel like kind of mixing it up a little bit helps you maybe avoid getting reliant on maybe, you know, a 200 milligram type caffeine a day. I think mixing it up is just probably safer. Better thing to do. And I would recommend probably not taking caffeine past 4 to 5 o'clock.
Yeah, for sure.
Out of the system in about 6 hours. So I'd say that's probably good because then you're ready to go to bed after the crash. If you have a crash.
Well, and caffeine's got a half-life too. So for every hour, you're only metabolizing half of what you have for your milligram intake is. So it takes a while to get the caffeine out of your system.
And let's not forget, Diet Coke has caffeine.
Yes.
There's many sodas that have caffeine. So I'd say that's something you got to be aware of. But there's also sodas if you have to have soda at, you know, supper time. Root beer does not have caffeine. So like certain sodas, you can avoid the caffeine. So it's just something to keep in mind when you're just having a drink later in the day.